Alexander Young.
I'm Al Anderson. We are all represent our high school in Maryland, and this is our guys are refreshed. All right, we'll introduce ourselves and then we'll read questions.
I'm Roger DeRosa, still the Massachusetts State Coordinator for We the People and former We the People teacher.
My name is Emmanuel Cavallillo. I'm Special Advisor with the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics, and I'm residing in D.C.
And I'm Louis Bear. I'm an environmental lawyer here in DC and also alumnus of the program coordinator. All right, so today we're going to be reading question 2. The writ of habeas corpus is the most important single safeguard of personal liberty known to Anglo-American law. To agree or disagree with this conclusion reached by a constitutional scholar. Why or why not? Was President Lincoln justified in suspending the writ of habeas corpus during the Civil War? Why or why not? Why has Lincoln's decision to suspend the writ of habeas corpus remained his most controversial policy decision to this day?
Writ of habeas corpus is a right that limits the government from sending a suspect to jail without a trial as an important safeguard of personal liberty. The writ was first specified in Section 39 of the Magna Carta in 1215. It was one of the limits the barons imposed on the king. By the end of the 17th century, this individual right was solidly established as the appropriate process for curbing illegal imprisonment. In the colonies, the writ was one of the widely recognized common law rights of individuals and was frequently invoked. It's also included in several state constitutions, as well as Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution, which enumerates that the writ of habeas corpus can only be suspended by Congress in case of rebellion or invasion, which the public safety may require. The emphasis placed on this right is why its limitation evokes such controversy.
During the Civil War, President Lincoln threw 31 Maryland lawmakers in jail. He did so after suspending the writ in 1861. This suspension was then extended for, quote, all persons who discouraged enlistments or aided and abetted the Confederacy, end quote. Lincoln justified this suspension by citing the rebellion in the South and his role as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Furthermore, arresting the lawmakers helped save the capital because it prevented Maryland from seceding. If Lincoln hadn't done this, it would have been very easy for the Confederacy to take the capital and win the war. This suspension was done without congressional approval while Congress was not in session. President Lincoln kept it suspended and ended up gaining congressional approval with the passage of the Habeas Corpus Act of 1862.
President Lincoln has been sharply criticized for his suspension of habeas corpus. Ex parte Merriman, Chief Justice Roger Taney stated that only Congress can suspend habeas corpus. 2 weeks later, President Lincoln insisted to Congress that the Constitution does not specifically state who can suspend the writ, that, quote, provision was blatantly made for a dangerous emergency, and it cannot be believed that the framers intended that in every danger, the danger should run its course until Congress can be called together. He also said, quote, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when, in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. This is equivalent to a provision that such privilege should be suspended when, in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety does require it.
Later, in 1863, a group of Democrats in New York wrote to Lincoln supporting the war but opposing his actions. Their major concern was about permanent outlawing him, a man arrested in Ohio and tried by the army for treason because he spoke out against the government. He was found guilty of both and came in power of the government, end quote. Lincoln responded to the complaint of the Democrats in a letter arguing that the inherent powers of the executive allows him to use whatever measures necessary to protect the public safety in times of rebellion. How far presidents can extend their power during times of war continues to be debated.
President Lincoln's decision to suspend the writ of habeas corpus remains his most controversial policy decision to this day because he violated civil liberties, disobeyed the highest law in the United States government and the Constitution, and believed that was perfectly fine to do so. In Youngstown v. Sawyer, in 1952, Justice Felix Rector said that every time a president acts without congressional action, it creates a gloss or extension on executive power. Following Lincoln's proceeding, President Bush also suspended the writ of habeas corpus without congressional approval after 9/11.
By no doubt, the writ of habeas corpus is the most important single safeguard of personal liberty known to Anglo-American law. It indefinitely prevents the government from being able to take away the unalienable rights stated by John Locke without due process of law. Without it, the government would be able to imprison anyone they would like. However, if Lincoln hadn't made this controversial decision, who's to say there would even be in the United States today?
My first question, we talked about the expansion of executive power. Presentation, so one thing is, should the Constitution be amended to clarify the limits on a president's authority in wartime? Why or why not?
Absolutely, the president feels that the executive power should be expanded in wartime because civil liberties can be suspended, and there are many court cases. However, in Lincoln's case, this was not justified by the Supreme Court. In Ex parte Merriman, Chief Justice Roger Taney says, like what was in the paper, that it's not okay to suspend civil liberties at this time. However, Lincoln disobeys this and he ignores it. So this was not taken by President Lincoln as any type of serious form from the Supreme Court.
I believe that presidents should be able to have more power in times of war because we need someone to have quick decision making in times of invasion and threats to the country. President Lincoln saw that even though he had the power to call Congress into special session, he saw this as a ruinous waste of time and believed that if he just decided right then to suspend writ of habeas corpus, he would be able to save the union.
I believe that amendment could be important because as stated by Lincoln, the Constitution is different during times of war and rebellion than it is during times of peace.
However, I disagree because this does not seem like a ruinous waste of time because Lincoln, as stated by my colleague previously, in Article 2, Section 3, has the power to call Congress into special session. So instead of on July 4th, 1861, speaking to Congress, he could have called them up earlier than they were.
What are the historic roots for the writ of habeas corpus beyond your mention of Magna Carta? Are there other things that happen in British history, American history, where you have habeas corpus being an important writ?
Well, habeas corpus is part of the due process, and due process is very ancient, just as political philosophers like Montesquieu, French political philosopher, and Aristotle. This was, it's part of due process. So due process comes from very ancient times, and as we see in Amendments 5, 6, and 14, this has proved time and time again to be a right that Americans need, and it's part of, almost arguable, the life, liberty, and property stated by John Locke in the Natural Rights Philosophy. So it's not just British history and American history where we see it growing and expanding through the government. It's other places derived from other parts of Europe as well.
So I'll bring the kind of discussion back to the present day, and you mentioned the response to 9/11, your prepared response. Why has the writ of habeas corpus become an important issue in case of aliens being held in Guantanamo Bay?
It has become an important issue because these suspected enemy combatants were given these military tribunals where in these court cases they weren't really held with the same trials as regular American citizens were. And the methods used for getting the information out of these suspects were could be considered cruel and unusual, as the use of waterboarding was used in these military tribunals, and Congress went on to investigate the claims of them.
Seen in the case Hamilton v. Rumsfeld, you see that Bush tried to use military tribunals against military combatants, holding them without day in court, and this was declared unconstitutional.
Following this, with Lee v. Bush, the Congress tried to pass an act saying that the president could do this. However, in Lee v. Bush, this was also ruled unconstitutional.
And going back to what my colleague was saying about criminal and unusual punishments, that's directly enumerated in Amendment 8, which is a violation of the Constitution. Right.
So I guess I'll follow up on this. What solution? Are there solutions to kind of the indefinite keeping of the unlawful combatants in Guantanamo Bay? What should we do with them? Where should we
as I explained earlier, due process, which is part of habeas corpus and these rights that people have and their civil liberties. This was expanded to America from other places, so it's not just an American ideal. So just as when immigrants from Europe came to the New World, as they call it, they had rights of Englishmen, so shouldn't everyone have the rights of due process?
Against the Rockville, it is so that enemy combatants cannot be denied their right to habeas corpus.
I'd like to take a little bit of issue with calling this the great writ of liberty and say to you, there are going to be very few people that are ever going to be controversial here. I can't do it. It's all his fault. Nicely done.
First of all, I want to say, good job on your presentation today. It's going through just each of the questions was answered consistently. Love the historical aspects of the Civil War. Just telling the story of the habeas corpus, not as established as formation and through Lincoln, and then I a little bit more in present time. So good job on that. My thing, just to make your presentation more effective, is give yourself a little more time to say, well, how does this apply to today? You know, will this apply today? The amount that Lincoln did would apply today. I think that so it only adds to your presentation more. But other than that, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you very much for your answers and your insights on any stuff that's very tough to decide. Their courts are still deciding on that as well. So thank you very much.
I thought your presentation was very, very good. It was very fluid. You went from a definition, you described Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. You referred to when it's allowed, but you also said it was allowed to be suspended by Congress. And that's an important piece here, especially when we're talking about the president. So I thought you did a very nice job. I liked the reference to Youngstown versus Sawyer with regard to presidential power. You're bringing in President Bush. I would have liked to have discussed with you the issue of what's the difference between FDR and Bush with regard to the way they went along with suspending the writ. Love the fact that you mentioned ex parte merriment. That was one of our follow-up questions, and we didn't have to ask it because you brought it in and did a wonderful job of explaining it. In my question of historic roots, I would have liked you to have mentioned the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679, which you studied in Unit 1, and that would have given a reference that even in the British system they recognized the importance of this, in that we went along and essentially followed it up. You had an extremely strong understanding in the Guantanamo Bay with all the court cases and the referencing. I like my colleagues coming back to you and saying, well, what do you do now? And the bottom line is you referenced it without being very specific, but I thought it was important. Shouldn't everyone have this right? And so you took the issue of, it doesn't matter if they're aliens, the fact of the matter is, isn't that a natural right for everyone? So overall, I thought you did an exceptional job. And you know what, you're freshmen, I dare say, which other class of freshmen in the entire United States has your expertise? Thank you.
I also echo a lot of what my colleagues have said, especially the last point by Roger, that the point about it's not just due process, it's not just an American ideal, it's a natural right and something, it's a protection for everyone. So I really like that point. I thought you were very thorough. I liked the historical, all the Guantanamo Bay is with us, and there's these political, kind of in your discussion, your thoughts, in the future, just thinking, how do we detain them indefinitely, or do we send them to an American civil court somewhere in the U.S.? Do we send them to, say, New York? Of course,